Let's get going. All right. Welcome everybody to this week's edition of your credit repair pre-litigation disputes interactive training show. And if you are joining us live, feel free to comment below. And if you're watching the replay, tag me and we will get your questions answered. All right. Let's kind of jump into our agenda here. If I can find it, I've got stuff everywhere. All right. So who are you and why are you here? Well, we've got this amazing weekly live time with yours truly to go over anything and everything that you're interested in learning about or need help with. Once a month, we have the sidebar co-hosted by our good friend Scott Schaaf. Take the gloves off, unfiltered, uncensored, talk about whatever is on your mind. All right. We also, as part of your course, have access to this amazing digital law library. I pay like every year when I renew, I have to increase the price. Now it's, I think, like $2,900 I pay for this for you guys to have access. And it's a legit deal. They let me share the credentials with you guys in this course. This is what the big dogs, the attorneys, use. And of course, in the Facebook group, we have all of these guides built out. We have like 70 or so guides of content. Make sure you take advantage of that. We've got the content organized for all of you. And post up your questions in the group, and that's what we'll go over here. So, all right, well, let's kind of jump in here. So a couple of things. We're going to do a nice little kind of live audit here because people ask, Stephen, like, well, there's a whole lot of misinformation. And when I say Metro 2, people don't understand what I mean. Really, what I'm telling you is Metro 2 is how you read a credit report. And so we're going to read a credit report. The letters, just keep them simple, very simple. And we're going to work with all the tools we have available in this course here. We're going to go through some documents live. So I've got, let me kind of open it up here. I've got a nice, simple little, let's see here. Let me open up these credit reports. We've got redacted little Equifax. Let me get them opened up here for all of y'all. All y'all. Jeff, how you like that little
Yeah.
All y'all. You. All right, we're going to open up here. We're going to go in, and I've got these redacted, which, by the way, you guys can do that if you ever wanted to right here in this Adobe Acrobat Pro. You can literally just go here to edit and then redact, and it just lets you highlight. So, if you're ever wanting to do your own videos or whatever, guys.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you how you do that. I learned something.
It's right in here. So, or if you've got a client file that you want to shop around to an attorney or something, right? But whatever, like it's super easy to do that. So, first thing, so we're going to go with this
program that allows you to do that. Then,
yeah, it's called Adobe Acrobat Pro.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I pay something for it, but it's not expensive, and it lets you do all the editing and stuff as well, which is kind of cool. So one thing I wanted to share first, and then we'll kind of jump in, a nice little feature here is if you go to edit PDF, and it's kind of doing its thing. So there's this, there's this feature called Bates numbering, okay? And this is really popular in the legal world. It's a nice way to basically put a unique identifying number on your series of documents. And so this is something that typically speaking, if lawyers do use this a lot, if they've got thousands and thousands of pages, they will run them through a scanner and then literally put a unique number on every page, right? So when they're referring to documents, it's like base number, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, whatever. So this is a cool feature I just wanted to share with folks. You may or may not see value in this, and we're not talking about like you guys being lawyers, but just do you want to put numbers on documents to reference them in your dispute? One thing is you can just again, if you've got the Adobe software, you can just go to edit PDF, more Bates numbering. And basically this goes back like over 100 years. This dude Bates had this little printing press that would go through and put a sequential number on documents, and now it's all done electronically. But just go to add here, and then you can drop a bunch of files in if you want to. We're just going to do this one for shits and giggles. We'll hit OK, and then it's kind of you can make it nice and big. We'll put this on the bottom left. insert Bates number. We'll kind of number of digits. We'll put like a couple bunch of zeros first. We can call it Bates. You can call it whatever you want to. You can call it nothing. Hit OK. It's going to put your number. Let's hit OK. Let me show you guys again. And it's going to see, there we go. And look, it just added it to it. See that right there? And so number 2, number 3, number 4. Yeah, and I mean, something that just was kind of a cool feature to put a unique number here. Let's see if we can undo that. Let's see if it lets me undo it. I think there's a way to undo it. Let's see here, edit.
Or you can say what kind of document okay, now I know how my dad did that. He's real good at computers.
Yeah, so you can do that. You can attach them all. Let's see here, Bates numbering, remove. Let's do that. We're going to remove it. But so, if you want to, again, just as a way to put a unique serial number, this feature right here, and it automatically does that. And as you guys saw, you could literally drop in a whole bunch of PDFs and it would still give them all unique numbers, right? So what I would say, the real value, I mean, putting numbers here for your disputes, probably not super important. Now, if you look at this one, this is a TransUnion annual credit report. It literally does not have a page number. So, I mean, if you're trying to reference the page number of the report on your dispute, this doesn't have one. So, but what would be kind of cool is, and what I do is, if you've got a file that actually needs to be put together for actual litigation, attorney review, take the whole freaking file.
Put the customer's name on the bottom of each page. So
you could do that as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Instead of writing the word Bates, you could put the client's name. And actually, a lot of folks will do that. And what I'll do, I'll take the entire client file and just Bates the whole thing up. And then, that's how you put your kind of your thing together. If you want to, I mean, if you've got everything and you know where it is, you take an hour or 2 or 3, that's when you're able to send this thing over to a lawyer, but you can Bates the whole thing up. You can put together your fact pattern, on or about this date, Jeff sent this letter to the bureaus.
I would think the nicer the package looks for the lawyer, the better they are with it, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, all right. So that's just a little side factoid there, but let's kind of jump into it. So what we have here, I've got this client, and we've got the Equifax annual credit report, the TransUnion annual credit report, Experian. We weren't able to get annual credit report, but we went into what I call the back door, which if you go to Experian.com/NCAC online/dispute, we were able to fill out her information here. And this portal did not kick her. Sometimes they both kick you, but like the point is you've got multiple ways to try to get these file disclosures. And I always start with annual credit report. And if one's not available, I try to go to the back doors. And usually you're pretty successful. If not, then, you kind of do whatever as far as how do you get the report. Maybe you work from a monitoring or whatever you need to do, or write and get the paper report. But so what we're going to do here, I'm going to show you everything. We're going to do this manually from what we have in the course. So if we look at the course here, we've got, if you go to your guides, okay, let's open up our guides. Do not need fancy software is the point, right? Guide number 2 really has everything you need. We'll let it load up for a second here, but you've got your Metro 2 manual. And then you've got 2 different sample Word documents that I give you. And if we look at, let's get those open. So I had already downloaded them. This is one sample. And then this is another sample. So this is just like the super simple one, where it's basically, just a template of like, I've got not reported as everything, but where you like literally, what is the field? And how is it reporting? And then there's, this other one where I've gone in and basically taken the Metro 2 definitions, and we'll take a look. And I've just put it in as how should this data be reporting? The consumer account number is used to paint a complete and accurate picture of the truthful unique account number as extracted from the furnisher's file. Let's go to our PDF of our Metro 2 manual. We're going to go to chapter 4, which is where your definitions are. And okay, down here, chapter 4, base segment, Field 7, consumer account number. This is the field. This is how it's supposed to report. Report to individuals. Complete and unique account numbers extracted from your files. You are meaning the furnisher because this is for the furnishers. Okay. So literally, portfolio type contains the one character abbreviations of the portfolio. Account type. Date open. Report the date the account was open. So issue number 1, the main takeaway for those of you in this course is I'm just teaching you how to read a credit report. And when I say Metro 2, that's all I'm referring to. Nothing fancier, nothing more sophisticated. It's literally, your date open. Complete and accurate picture of the truthful date the account was originally opened. Should be retained regardless of future activities such as transfer, right? We go back to here. Our date open. Regardless of future activity, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so all we're doing, because that's the thing is, well, are you reading the report accurately? Is it really wrong, right? So we use our Metro 2 manual to teach us how to properly read a report. Does that make sense, guys? So, okay, so we've got Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, and what we're going to do, get us a little Excel sheet here, first of all. And I've already kind of done this, but this would literally just take you a minute. And, we just take a little itemization of what we have. So we've got 3 trade lines. Harris is a debt collector in all 3. Capital One, we've got a few late payments, prior late payments, but it's still an open account, right? That's in all 3. And then ARS is only an Experian. Okay. So let's kind of get to work. Okay. So what we can do here is, again, this is why you're in this course, is not to push a button and spray and pray, but you're here to be able to build a good file. So, all right, so let's kind of number them. Let's go get out of this thing here real quick. What is this? Okay, closed here. So here we go. So we're going to call this, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Okay. So Harris and Harris. So let's just go ahead real quick. Again, we can go to our Adobe thingy here. And edit. Okay, we're going to find our accounts and we're going to just, revolving. Here's your Capital One, which somewhere down here you've got your 30-day late payments. Okay, so we're going to call this, our Capital One was number 2. Okay, so we're just going to kind of number this right here. Okay, that's number 2. Not very difficult here. Account details. Okay, and then we're going to go down to your collections down here. Collections. This is Harris and Harris. I've got that as number 1. Okay. And then the ARS wasn't reported in here. Okay, so we're just going to save that. Okay, so we've gone in and now we know where our trade lines are in Equifax. We're going to go to TransUnion. TransUnion has the same 2 reporting. Okay, accounts with adverse, here's Capital One. We're going to go to edit. And, and again, isn't this cool? We're kind of doing it all electronically with, it works here. Text box. Come on, bro. Actually, it's number 2. Okay. I like to just put it in red so we can kind of see it. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so that's account number 2. And then we're going to go to Harris and Harris. I had that marked as number 1. Okay. And again, if you've got a processor helping you out, this is what you have VAs do, right? And so we've got these 2 trade lines, not difficult. We'll save this. Okay, and then Experian. Same thing. This one has all 3. So ARS is only reporting in this. We had this marked as number 3. Add text. Number 3. Make this kind of big because, okay, got this number 3. Okay. Okay, we'll actually go back up. Here's your Capital One. Okay, so your Capital One right here starts right there. This will be number 2. And let's go down. Did I miss it? Experian was, where's the ARS? Completely. Oh, here. Oh, that number 3, number 2. Yeah. Okay. And then Harris and Harris. Harris. Oh, here, Harris and Harris. Here we go. Number. Okay. So there we go. So we literally took like 2 minutes, and now we've got our stuff set up. Makes sense, guys. So we just save this. Okay. And then if you have multiple monitors, I recommend that. Makes life a lot easier. And so what we've done, we've got them organized. Now we've got them numbered. We've got our file all organized. All right. So we can just go back to, let's take our super simple, let's see here, this one right here. So we'll call this, we'll just call this ARS. We're going to save this one where we were. Okay, so we're going to just kind of go through here and remember, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the manual. Here we go. We're going to go back to our Metro 2 manual. So how do you read the report is chapter number 4. But then we're going to just go to chapter number 3. Chapter number 3 shows you your record layouts. If these are your base segment, field 7, your consumer account number. It shows you if it's a required field. If it's a required field, it should be reporting every month. Okay. And let's kind of go back and take a look here. So if we look at Equifax as an example, let's just see Equifax here. These reports, they change them every year. Every year they add a little more information. If you guys, some of you old schoolers, you'll remember 10 years ago, the only historical data you ever had was the payment history, and that was it. And when I would still dispute the historical information, people were like, dude, are you crazy? Like, can you even do that? Well, yeah, I can do that because their industry standard says it's a required field, and their industry standard says that reporting must be done no less than monthly. Where does that come from? I'll show you that real quick. Just to set the framework of how to read a report, okay? Because this is what's most important, is how to read a report, as ridiculous as that sounds. Let's see here. Okay, it's gonna be one of these pages.
How many fields are required fields?
Yeah, we'll go back to that. Gosh, okay. Every time I do this live, you guys allows. Let's see, where is it? Monthly. Here we go. All accounts must be reported a minimum of once per month. You see that, guys? Right here. Their own industry standard says all accounts must be reported a minimum of once per month. Okay. So we know that accounts based on their own industry standard are required to be reported monthly. Now, to your point, we go to chapter 3, and this is your header record, which most of these fields really is only your date of activity. We go to our base segment, okay, and this is where a lot of the fields are. Field 7, consumer account number, yes, it's a required field, Jeff. Portfolio type, yes, it's a required field. Account type, yes, it's a required. Date open, yes, it's required. Credit limit, A means if applicable. So if we go to the bottom right here, Y means always required, A means if applicable, okay. So if we go back here, we will see that Equifax does a nice little job of, they actually give you grids for historical balances, historical available credit, historical scheduled payment, historical actual payment, historical high credit, historical credit limit, historical amount past due, historical activity designator, historical, and then these are comments which are just different fields they kind of lump in there, okay. And then you can see, like, every month it would, like, it hit, boom, fixed rate. And then your payment history, which we're all used to seeing from back in the day, right? So, and then they all give them to you a little bit differently. TransUnion now does kind of give you balance, high credit, past due, schedule. Experian, they don't give you shit in this report. Okay. So the point is we're going to dispute the historical information as well as the current profile information. That's kind of the point there. So But Jeff, to answer your question, yeah, literally, this is where Chapter 3 comes in, so you know what's required and what's if applicable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you.
Cool, cool.
So
So
it cracks me up that that I 2 out of the 3 or whatever date of first delinquency. They never put that. That's just crazy.
you like that, don't you?
Well, yeah.
So, all right.
So when you dispute
Yeah,
that particular part, which I'm sure you do on every damn client, because if it's not there, you want to dispute it.
dude, that's the easy one. That is the easy one.
Yeah.
You don't even have to see a credit report. And
Do you ever get them come back where they add that, or is that always a violation?
never for Experian and TransUnion. No. No, I mean, they would have to change their template, right? Their credit report template.
Yeah.
They would have to change it. And by the way, speaking of templates, so, you've got folks out there who say don't use templates. Well, everything's about what they mean. I mean, so if you look at this is a template, but this is a very simple template. Like, this literally says your data field and how to put in the data. And then you could take this and do all sorts of different things with it. You can add meat into the bones and stuff like that. And then, like I've talked before, there's this Quillbot plugin where you can rewrite stuff. So people who say don't use templates, I mean,
Yeah, I think Neil was talking about Spinbot's another one, right? That he uses. Similar type of thing.
yep, Spinbot, Quillbot's cool because it's got like this word plugin. I don't think Spinbot does, but yeah, I mean, basically something that, you open it up. We'll just do that while we're here. And it pops this little thing out. It uses AI to highlight it, and it'll let you, it puts it in here. You can go to paraphrase and then you can just rewrite it. And you can even change words or whatever, but go to insert and now it just rewrote it. Okay, we'll undo that, but the point is boom. I mean, so in today's day and age, there's no reason why you should not use a template, at least as a core starting point. And then from there, I mean, if you've got all your different snippets, put them in, rewrite it. Now you've got a unique letter. So, that's that. So, okay, so here we go. So now we're gonna look.
Scott's here.
Go ahead.
You see Scott? It looks like Scott was asking to be let in. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Mr. Schaaf.
Oh, yeah, keep your eyes open on that.
Yeah, I saw it on the screen there. So
yeah, shoot him a Facebook message for me if you would. Tell him he can come back in. Keep your eyes on. 'Cause I made you a co-host, so I'm just focusing on this. So, all right, guys. So, what we'll do here is we're going to kind of go through. We'll close the Quillbot for right now. Okay. All right, so we're going to just take our template. This ARS is only reporting in Experian. Okay, and this is the hardest thing for folks when Bureau reports. Okay, so let's take a look and see what's going on. Okay, so your consumer account number, it looks like it's not truncated. It doesn't have dots, so I don't have an issue with that necessarily on the face of it. Your reporter name, I do have an issue with your reporter name because it's not a full name. Okay. So what we'll do here, so we're going to just delete this. Okay. Your reporter name. And then we're going to, for this trade line, you can have your different template versions. If you guys use my software, we've got all sorts of different versions, but Experian is ARS account resolution S. Okay. So first we're just putting data consumer account number. I don't have an issue with that at this point because it seems to be a full number. Okay, so date opened is 11 of 2021. Now this is where if you're trying to find a dispute that, let's look, if we're going to be a total purist, let's go to our date opened down here. And it does say your character should be month, date, year. Okay. So again, this is all about having legitimate disputes, right? Because that's what we're trying to do is have legitimate disputes. Okay. So in this case, your date opened is, in this case, it's just 11/2021. So we're going to just remove these. Is And again, if you've got my software, you just, it pulls in not these annual reports, but the monitorings. You can very easily have a VA or even somebody just do this portion for you. And we're going to go back and we're going to further enhance these things. Your date of first delinquency, well, we just know that that's not reported because it's not reported. Estimated purge date, that's not a Metro 2 field, but on record until October of 2025. We'll keep this for right now. We'll tie this in. And again, the thing of this for you guys to take away, this is a one bureau dispute, which is the hardest. Your date closed is, there's no date closed because this is a collection, so they consider it to be an open portfolio in a non-closed account. So we will delete that, no issue. Your portfolio type is a required field, and this does not show you it's an open portfolio because collections report as open portfolios. Okay. I just know that, but that's in your manual. So your portfolio type, Experian, is not reported. And we're going to come back. Yeah, the takeaway here, you may say, Stephen, this takes a little bit of time. It does. If you've got somebody assisting you, though, they can do the hard work here to show you that this is not rocket science. Literally,
Jessica,
it is not rocket science going.
So I can click admit.
Yeah, you should be able to. I've got you as a co-host. Looks like we've got Scott in and Jessica coming in as well.
Scotty.
Yeah. All right. Welcome, Scott. Welcome, Jessica. We're doing a live, no software analysis dispute letter creation here. So, okay, the next field that we're going to look at, your credit limit. And, here's your credit limit or original loan amount, 1212. And there's not a high balance. So there's not really an issue here per se, except that let's take a look. If we want to be a purist, let's go to our credit limit field here. They don't show you whether it should have cents reported, like the pennies. Let's see, positions 84 through 92. They give you a whole bunch of character spaces, so that's fine. It shows you, your highest credit original loan amount. Now, the other thing you could do is dispute the titles of the fields because, and I'm not going to do that in this letter, but literally this is not what the field is called. The field is called credit limit. The other field is called highest credit original loan amount. Okay, so you absolutely can dispute that because it's inaccurate. Okay, so I'm not going to dispute either one of these two. I have no beef with that at this point. Terms duration, terms frequency, and scheduled payment all go together. So that would be like 1 month. Let's see, 1 month monthly is not reported of, and your scheduled payment is what your accelerated amount of 1212. So terms duration is 1 month. That actually is okay. The frequency, the terms duration, it does not say monthly. And let's go to our thing here again. How do you read a credit report? So terms duration is going to be, if it's an open portfolio, which we've established by me telling you, because I know this manual, debt collection items are open portfolios. So your terms duration should be a 1, technically 001, which is basically 1 month. And then they should all report as monthly because basically there's an exhibit that shows you how to convert. Like if you're the creditor and they're on bi-monthly, for credit reporting purposes, you're supposed to convert everything to monthly, even though they give you these. So it should report 001 monthly, and then your scheduled monthly payment. Zero fill or, zero fill. Okay, so I guess it's going to be, well, that's if it's like an Amex. I guess, because this is a debt collection, which is still an open portfolio, and it's accelerated. Okay, so either way, so your terms duration, terms frequency, scheduled payments all come together. So your terms frequency, it does not say monthly. If we go back to our credit report. So our credit report, 1 month, which was the 001, doesn't say monthly, and it doesn't say zero fill or of the amount due. So I've got some beef in terms of frequency, and the scheduled payment is not there. Okay, see how this works? Payment history profile. We're going to go to historical information, but it's not. Let's see here. Our payment history, we do have some payment history. Now, the date opened is 11 of 2021. The date opened for debt collectors, if we go to our manual here, although your date opened, this has always been a little odd. Your date opened does say that it's the account, the date the account was originally opened. However, if we go down at the end of our manual, down yonder away, there is a chapter specifically for debt buyer accounts. Okay, and the date open somewhere in here, it says is a date that they got the account. Let's see if we can find it. Here we go. Here's some specific fields they give you. Date open. The date the account was purchased by the debt buyer or placed assigned to a third-party collection. So there you go. So that actually supersedes the date open definition in chapter 4. So if we look at the credit report, our date opened is 11 of 2021. We have to assume that that is accurate. We have no way of telling. But the other thing we're looking at is your payment history doesn't go back to November. It starts in February. So this was sitting on somebody's desks for 3 months. And then they went in and they keyed this thing into the system, and they didn't backfill the payment history. Do you guys see that? So February of 2022, but it was open. So just a little factoid to look at. Okay, so that's kind of our balance, or your payment history profile. Okay, your special comments. And well, there's no notation of in dispute. Okay, for those of you guys who like to do FDCPAs, Jeff, you were talking in the pre-show.
Quick question, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Right there, this has been a question I've been meaning to ask. So
Please.
I see what you're talking about, 11 of 2021, and you said backfilled. So anything that's not here, is it a result of a just a flat out keying error or something that wasn't done by the person entering the stuff at the original creditor or debt collector or furnisher, I should say?
So I have to give you my assumption when I look at this pattern.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you see a report and it's like CCC, no data, no data, no data, CCC. That's an indication that they don't report every month, right? In this case, my assumption whenever I see this is that they got the file in November. In February is when they actually keyed it in for the credit reporting. That's just my assumption. So to answer your question, we don't know unless we go into discovery and you ask them, in litigation, how did it come to be where you've got 3 months not here? We won't never know for sure unless we ask them, right? But my assumption is when I see a gap here that it sat on their desk for 3 months and then they got around to putting it in the system and they didn't backfill it. That's so we do have to make some assumptions there. Okay. Good question. So your special comment, there is no notation of in dispute. So although that's not an error at this point in time, for those of you guys who want to do the FDCPA, nothing wrong with that. You can send a letter also out to the data furnisher. Tell them, I don't recognize this account, and furthermore, the balance is wrong. You've put them on very clear notice that you disputed the debt or a portion of the debt under the FDCPA right there. I don't know this account, and also the balance is wrong, right? Boom. There's nothing more that defines and describes the debt or a portion of the debt than telling them that the balance of the debt is wrong, right? That's all you've got to tell these fools. You can also tell them, don't ever talk to me again. That's a combination cease and desist / dispute, right? But telling them I don't know who you are and the balance is wrong, that is clearly a dispute. Okay. So if you send that directly to the debt collector, and then 45 days later is what which you like to wait typically for the attorney's comfort level. This thing's been refreshed 45 days later, but it doesn't show in dispute. That's where you've got your FDCPA. Okay. Now, for credit reporting purposes, though, there's no special comment, and I have no issue at this point. Okay, your current balance, again, we're doing a one bureau dispute. It's 1212. So I've got no issues with the current balance. Okay, so we're going to delete this. Your amount past due. It shows your current status past due shows 1212. I have no idea of the historical. But we're doing the current stuff. Your original charge-off amount. You're not going to have that because this is a collection. Okay, so that field is not going to be. And so if we go to, again, our chapter 3 of the manual, again, if you can just learn how to read a report, then it's just a matter of you or getting, one person on your team to just be able to do these things. Come on. I'm jammed up here. Come on. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to go to, let's see here. Let me enlarge. So we're going to go to our, I think it's going to be down here. Original charge-off amount. Okay, see, it's not a Y. It's not always required, but if applicable. Okay. So it's not an applicable field for a debt collector. Okay, so we're going to go back here, and then we're just going to original charge-off, delete that. Date of last payment. There is no date of last payment reported. I've got a problem with that. So date of last payment. See, because people ask, Stephen, how do I dispute when there's only one trade line? Well, this is when the trade line is only in one bureau. Does that make sense? This is literally how we do it. We start with the low-hanging fruit. Okay, original creditor name, Paragon Emergency Service. So if we go to our manual, your original creditor, we're going to go to chapter 4 where the definitions are. Your original creditor is not going to be in your base segment. It's going to be the K, let's see, district J2. Shit, let me go back up here. So your K1 segment, okay, has 3 fields. It has a segment identifier, which you don't worry about. It has your original creditor name. It's got a whole freaking Chinese sliding ruler calculation method. But basically, report the name of the company creditor, including any partnering affinity name that originally opened the account for the consumer. Okay. Debt buyer is basically the same thing. Okay. And then your creditor classification. Is it a retail? What is this? These are fields that should be reporting. So the point in all this, where I was going there, is that, according to the definition, this isn't necessarily problematic because it's in here, but this is not really a full legal name necessarily, so you could, if you wanted to, dispute that the original creditor name is not a legal name. That wouldn't necessarily be directly Metro 2 per se as far as the definition. But again, you guys kind of get the point there. But the other thing is that it's not showing, again, if you're wanting to do like combo disputes, it's not showing your creditor classification. Okay. Jeff, you unmuted. Did you have a question, bud?
No. I'm just blowing my nose.
You're good? Okay, cool. So we'll take this out for right now. Your creditor classification, Experian is not reported. We just looked at that, right? That goes along with the prior field. There you go. Okay. So, again, if you're charging the client $99 a month, you probably need to reevaluate why you're in business, your business model, but if you're charging the client $199, $249, reasonable prices all day long, you don't have a lot of volume, you should be doing this yourself till you get good at it. Then you just get somebody. If you guys need me to do it, let me know. I'm happy to process disputes for you all, by the way. Me and my team. So, right, you can teach somebody how to do this. And this is this is as simple as it gets. And then when you've got multiple bureaus, right, then it's where it gets really beautiful because they're inconsistent, right? And that's when it's just juicy and beautiful. Okay, now this is the current status, okay? So we've got this dispute letter sample we pulled down from the training course, and then we've got the other one as well, where I've kind of got basically the definitions kind of in here. So here's what we can do, okay? So your reporter name, we can kind of turn this into, okay, so the reporter name, in Experian is boom. And then if you want to, you can kind of, I'm just pasting this in from the other one. And then, so what is wrong? Why is it wrong? Right? And then, we can just basically just do this even in paragraph format. Okay. Your date open, in Experian. Again, Jeff, you and I were talking earlier, people who say don't use templates. I mean, well, literally, you can add pages worth of content to this. That's not in this. But I mean, for people to say don't use templates makes no sense whatsoever. Why you would not have this as a starting point is beyond me. And then you can easily automate this. Again, my software will pull in not the annual reports, but the monitorings. You can easily take an automation guide, take an Excel, put data entry in there, and have it mail merge. I mean, there's a lot of ways if you're serious about your business, you can automate this stuff. So, okay, the data open in Experian, and we'll kind of go here. Now, this is an interesting one because here, I've got is used to paint a complete and accurate picture of the truthful date of the account open. But remember, we had also talked about that for debt collection items down. Jeff, you're a Southern boy like me. Down yonder way here at the bottom part. Chapter.
Well, I was gonna say, because I do recall, you were saying that you disputed. And what is your saying? Tell them to go pound sand.
Go pound sand. That's right. But down here, so this, remember, guys, this says your date open. This overrides the Chapter 4 definition. It's just weird, but you got to be like a savant, human genius to know this stuff. Because if not, again, can't reiterate enough because there's all this different information about Metric 2, and there's all sorts of different people trying to say, here's how you send attorneys letters and all this kind of stuff and whatever. At the end of the day, dude, if you don't know how to read a credit report, I mean, if you do know how to read a credit report, then nobody can tell you anything is what I'm really trying to say, right? Because you put this in front of the credit bureau's lawyers, in front of a judge, and it's like, well, judge, I mean, literally their own manual says exactly what we're putting in here. So, I mean, maybe I don't know how to read a report, but if I don't, I guessed exactly like their manual says, right? So, and we'll pause this real quick, right? Because this brings us to two decision-making things that we need to know when we're trying to audit these trade lines. Number one is, are we going to interview the client and have the client tell us, hey, there's something actually wrong with the data? Okay, that can be backed up with some sort of proof from the client, the balance is legitimately wrong, or, this was a short sale and not a foreclosure or whatever. Okay, then you get the support, you send it in, hey, bureau, it's wrong, here's what it should be, or delete it. If we're not going off of an actual error that the client can validate with supporting evidence, then we go to the next step, which is how do we just read a credit report based on how a credit report should be written, based on just using their industry standards as supporting evidence, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So there's kind of two, and then what most of the lawyers want is option number one, right? Most of the lawyers that you talk to that are already doing this, they're like, well, tell me why it's wrong, Like, in other words, is the balance wrong? Was this a short sale and not a foreclosure? They're looking for that low-hanging fruit, right? Was there a 1099 cancellation of debt issued, but this thing's still showing a balance? So again, keep that in mind. Now we're talking, how do you read a report when the client can't tell you what's wrong with it? Takes sense. But now we can tell them, hey, here's what we've identified through the professionals that's wrong with your trade line. And we back it up with their own manual, their standard. Okay, so for all this, the date open, is the issue we were having here. If we go back to this, the date open, there's a definition, but the problem we had, actually, if we go back to Chapter 4, was that the format character is this. Okay, so we're gonna copy this right here, and so the date opened is boom.
Further describe that. I got you.
Control V. Well, let me not Control V. Let me paste it this way without the formatting. You know.
Yep.
Again, you guys can kind of read, but you get the point, right? The point is I'm literally taking their own thing and saying, well, yeah, there's a date, but I don't think it's the right date. And if you were to show this to a judge, well, judge, but by the way, boom, page whatever of their manual. Okay. Makes sense, right, guys? Okay, so your date of first delinquency.
Not an unreasonable point to make, for sure.
Yep. Date of first delinquency and Experian is not reported. Again, so we'll just go here. We'll just copy this, kind of copy this right here, further expand on it. I'm just removing the bullets, whatever. You can format these things how you want to. Okay, the estimated purge date is actually, it's not reported. I forgot to change that. The estimated purge date is, where's my PDFs? Estimated purge date, which is on record until October 2025. So here's what we're going to do with that. So the estimate, which is not a metro 2 field, let's see, and is, on okay. So the issue we have here is that
yeah, there you go. How's this calculated here?
Okay, so the issue we have is if they're giving us an estimated purge date, but they're not giving us the date of first delinquency, how are they calculating it? It kind of puts them in a little checkmate of like, well, do you have that in your system, but you didn't give it to us, right? Portfolio type is not reported. And again, I'm just kind of combining both samples of the templates that I give you. You can take this, rewrite your templates. And then you can have all of your little snippets that you can even put after all this kind of stuff, right? So your portfolio type in Experian is not reported. Okay. Portfolio type, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Terms frequency in Experian is not reported. And again, you can have different versions of templates. I'm starting with the one that had the data for all 3 bureaus, so it's taken me longer. If you've got a template for just Experian, all this stuff is going to be rewritten, and you can have this, right? So, I'm literally just showing you how you can take what I'm giving you and, put together your framework the first time, and you can reuse it. So your terms frequency in Experian is not reported. And, your terms frequency here, terms duration, terms frequency. We're just going to copy this from this template. Boom. Okay. Schedule payment is not reported in Experian. Okay. And so we'll go back to this, go back to this, schedule payment. Again, all I've done here previously is basically taken the exact definition from the manual and put it in that other template, which basically is, hey, how do I read this report? Payment history profile. Now, this is a historical record, right? We're going to get more to that in a minute, but that's not reported completely. You guys recall that when we looked at the payment history, date open is 11 of 2021. Payment history starts in February. So payment history profile is not reported completely. Specifically, it does not go all the way back to the date open. And then you can even put the date in there or whatever. So again, the takeaway here, guys, is we're being specific in our disputes. We're telling them what the hell is wrong with it. That's what needs to happen to hand these things off to an attorney. The date of last payment, in Experian is not reported. And then we'll just kind of pull this from here. Date of last payment, we'll kind of boom, pull this down. There is no date of last payment. I don't like that. Then the creditor classification was the last one that we included in here. We're going to, and this, if you guys remember from the creditor classification, and I kind of put in here a chart of general types of business. If you remember when we looked in here at the manual, this was, let's see here. This was K1 segment, creditor classification, field 3, the values are, boom. And you don't have to put that in here. I mean, this is just one in a million ways to do this, but you can just say, and the values are, okay, I don't need to put all that necessarily. I mean, you don't have to, right? This is still going to be a good dispute. So I'm defining now the creditor classification. So get rid of that right there. Okay. So now, a couple ways we can look at this. So, we can say, regarding the something like that, because this is all coming back from that current status, whatever. And then maybe you bullet it or maybe you rewrite it. And then we can say, and I'm just like the historical. I mean, you could say, by the way, the scheduled payment historical is completely missing, right? You could just put it right here like that. Very simple. Again, it's all about saying what you want to say, but having different versions of your letter that, get through to the bureaus. So for you guys, for demonstration, this is all your current status. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to take the history, payment history, and then we'll move this down under here. Okay. So the payment history is the only one that Experian is giving us, if we look at it. And they give us this payment history. Oh, I'm sorry. They do give us some balance history. So they give us the account balance as of these months, the date the payment was received as of these months, the scheduled payment amount, and the actual amount paid. So they do give us 5 fields. They give us the payment history and these. Oh, look down here. They've got the original amount of the loan was $12.12. Okay. So they've got no data for your scheduled payment amount and actual amount paid. Should be a 0. It should be 0. So they do give you historical information for a scheduled payment amount and amount paid, but let's kind of square that up against. Now we're going to go back to chapter 3 here. Hopefully you're seeing how, you could easily take these templates, build your own versions, and then it's not going to take you nearly as long, right? You literally just have to boom, go something, because you can have your template that says, let's see here, your base segment, all of your required fields, right? So, we can even say the payment history, the historical, because we're talking about the historical portfolio type, account type, date open, historical portfolio type, right? I mean, and technically this is supposed to be pushed in every month. And this would be a little more, this would be a little less persuasive, I would say, I mean, to a judge than maybe like the dollar amounts. Okay. So on the scale of things that are like, yes, the manual says it should be reported every month. And yes, the manual says these are required fields. But if you don't have the portfolio type of open portfolio every month, that's I would say the highest hanging fruit, which is not as good as basically the dollar fields and the date fields. Okay. So we'll put our date fields. So you've got this is a money field. We'll just kind of for you guys, money fields. We'll use this, but we're not going to put this in the final version, but so you've got your money fields. Here, money fields. Date fields. Okay, these are the kinds of things that are more persuasive, right, Judge? I mean, like, you can understand a dollar and a date. You can't understand necessarily, like, I don't think it affects the score, not having the portfolio type historically, right? But if you're like, oh, well, but this dollar amount went up and down and up and down, but we can't see that. So we can't see the usage, Your Honor. And so the lender can't understand the usage, and the valuations and the LTVs and stuff are out of whack. Judge could be like, oh, that shit makes a whole lot of sense because I tried to get a mortgage once and I understand that, right? So we'll say like date fields, and we'll just kind of say, this, and this is just kind of for demonstration purposes for you guys as we're going through here. And you can put your little templates together. So portfolio type, account type, date open. Okay. Portfolio type, account type, okay, date open, date fields, boom, date open. And again, if you guys remember, we've got that eOscar download in the training course, which shows you the eOscar codes. So again, as you're trying to do your subsequent letters, if you're doing your first letter, blowing them up with everything, which is what I recommend. If you guys see John Watts, I do those videos with him, and he does videos. I mean, that's what he does. He literally has his gal go through his reports just like this. And I guess it's his gal, maybe it's his guy, his person, and this is what they do all day long is they basically do this. They don't just push a button and spin out a letter. Okay, so credit limit and then highest credit. Okay, so credit limit is a money field. And in this also is a money field, right? That's a money field. And now this is going to be, actually, credit limit is if applicable. So this one here, we're probably going to we'll delete that one. Okay. We want to do the yes fields. Terms duration. Now, terms duration, terms frequency, and schedule payment, remember, they all kind of go together. Now, these are like if applicable. So, but your scheduled payment is a dollar field. Scheduled payment. Okay. Actual amount paid is, again, we're just going to go through our required fields. Your account status. That's going to be a miscellaneous field. Okay. Account status. Payment history profile, we had that one already. Your current balance, but again, your current balance needs to show you your account balance. So this is your current balance field. So in this, you can see that I guess your original amount was $12.12. Your current balance never went up. See, this is how these reports should look, right? So you can see, is there interest? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it remaining the same? That's actually good right there. But for purposes of demonstration, money fields, okay, we're talking historical, but it's still the same field that they push in every month, the current balance. And date of account information. We don't know when previously, we don't know as of April, whatever date this was reported, right? This was reported on whatever previous day. So you would put date of account information. And let's see here. Yeah, this is always really cool because a lot of these trade lines don't give you the personal information here. Let's take a look, right? So there's no consumer information here with the trade line. A lot of times they just it's kind of dangling somewhere up here on the top, which I've redacted for you guys, right? But there is a personal information that is supposed to be associated with this trade line. I'm not going to go into that granular here, but there's a reason why you may want to, right? That's why people want to cut the strings. They call it delete the personal identifiers before they delete the trade lines. If you can get those identifiers deleted, then the address related to the trade line won't be able to match as easily, right? So,
Yeah.
let's see.
So that's mainly on Experian, right? Or is that on all three?
No, you could TransUnion, even though it's a different trade line, but TransUnion, they're not giving it to you here. Equifax, they're not giving it to you either, dude. So it depends upon the report. There's no consumer information here. We don't know which social security number is related to this consumer, to this trade line, the date of birth.
I was talking about the address identifier. Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
right?
okay, the address identifier. Yeah. So what I was talking about, so yeah, Experian gives you an address identifier, which basically relates the address right here. And then at the end of the credit report, they give you all the addresses or up in the top. Now, what I was saying was the address for the consumer's address, right? So there we go. So, okay, so that's, you've got your ECOA code, which is like are they the borrower, co-borrower. But so here's the thing. Okay, so for our letter, we have all of these issues with the current status. And then, regarding the historical status, it kind of has the following errors. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes. Payment history profile is not reported completely specifically. It goes all the way back to the date open. Following historical are missing completely, however you want to do this. Boom, and you could just comma, 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 comma. Now, let's make sure, because if we look here, there was a few. So your account balance, we would actually remove that. So I would remove the current balance historically because, I would remove that one. But all these other ones say no data. Let them prove that they're supposed to be data, right? So, you could, and then, you could put in, a little description down here, that, the, right? Years.
Gotcha.
So now it's like the judge reads this. He's like, oh, well, that makes a whole lot of sense. I've tried to get a mortgage before again, and then you can elaborate on this. But this is, again, we're talking keeping it simple. Does this make sense, guys? The historical status is required because when a lender would look at this, well, now the cool thing about this one, they do show you this right here. So, you can see that the balance was here, but if there is no amount paid actually reporting, we would have to assume it was a zero, right? But let's take a regular trade line, a different trade line here, like just one of these Experian, or this is a TransUnion, but did your high credit go up or down, right? Like a regular trade line, high credits can go up, they can go down, because if your highest balance is $10,000 and your current limit is $5,000, you would be like, oh, he charged 10 grand and he's only limited to 5 grand. This dude maxed this thing out. But what if at that time, that month when you had a $10,000 balance, the limit was $30,000, right? In that case, he was only 1/3 utilized. Does that make sense? So again, you would not be able, it's misleading, grossly misleading. And from an underwriter's perspective, right? So, Historical information is required in order for a lender to be able to paint a clear picture of my performance. So this in very simple terms is how we took our time, we did it manually. I kind of cut it and pasted different things, but create your different template versions for the core substance. And then, you could, you can rewrite this thing with this Quillbot if you want to, paraphrase.
Play around with that thing a little bit.
Let's see here, paraphrase. It's kind of taking it a minute. I think PC's well, anyway, you guys get the point. My thing's acting a little slow with the bandwidth here, but so no reason to not use templates, contrary to what all the people say out there in the context of, how else are you literally gonna say the data first delinquency is not reported?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you going to have you or your team member literally retype this every day? That you're retarded if you do. I'm sorry. Okay.
Just use it as a baseline foundation.
To explain why it's wrong. Okay. And again, you could take this and rewrite it. You can have 100 different reasons why it's wrong, but you should at least have your snippets and your clippets, Now, do you need them all to look like this business professional? I don't know, but I use a POA. So, who gives a shit how it's formatted? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to hide from anybody.
Yeah.
So, but there you guys go. This is it. And we've got this intro paragraph. Again, you can take it, you can leave it. Doesn't matter. I don't really care. Point is, you're saying, hey, you guys have the data should be reported according to the specified definitions. Let me show you where I got that from. Data. Let me show you where I got that from. Take it, leave it. Doesn't matter. Some people are like, let's see if we can find this here. Okay, so we found it. Let's see if there's anywhere else in here. Let's go back. Okay, let's go back. The following data should be reported according to the specified definitions in order to process your information correctly. Literally, Judge, Your Honor. I got their credit reports and their shit's so hard to read. I Googled and I found their manual. And so I'm just reading it the way that they tell me that it's supposed to be read, Your Honor. And that's what I mean when I say Metro 2 is literally just how do you read a credit report? So I just took this. I thought, hey, that sounds pretty good. And that ties it to the Chapter 4 definitions, right? Because I can say, hey, that it says Chapter 4 defines this field as this, but this literally says your data should be reported according to the definitions. You see what I mean? So we're literally tying that little knot together right there. And then to back up a little bit further for all of you, which I think you're aware of from my prior shows, but if we go to where the maximum possible accuracy is required, EB, whenever a CRA prepares a consumer report, it shall follow reasonable procedures to assure maximum possible accuracy. So Metro 2 is their answer to the reasonable procedures, okay? And there are plenty of precedents that state that bureaus that don't follow their own procedures could not have been determined to be reasonable. It's unreasonable for them not to follow their procedures. Does that make sense? So literally Metro 2 is the answer to the law. Law requires reasonable procedures. They have Metro 2. Metro 2 is the reasonable procedure, which then says, here's how to process maximum possible accuracy data. Make sense, guys? So this is how we bridge all these things together. But the rest of it is literally just keeping it super simple. So yeah, this is how we do it. To do the ones with multiple trade lines, if you had it in 2 or 3 bureaus, you would do the same thing pretty much. And, again, you just go in, you put in the data, and, again, and you can start to get your little snippet library to add to this. The data delinquency, furthermore, is required to be reported, as far as to know when this thing should be purged. How do I know when this thing is going to be purged? How do I know this should be in here, right? So you could very easily start to generate really good high quality letters. If we were to say this is what we call the facts. Okay, this is the facts. This is the most important part. And then this is kind of like what we would say is like, you know, explaining how you're reading the credit report. Okay. So like the fact is the date of first delinquency is not reported. It's literally a fact. And then how am I reading the report? Why am I saying it's wrong? The date of first delinquency is used to paint a complete and accurate picture of the truthful date of commencement. Again, this comes straight from their manual, right? So this is the facts. The facts is not reported. That in and of itself is not an error, but I believe it's an error because I believe this is what the field should be. And then you can just come in here and, you can, and if you're looking for unique content for the CRAs, start to build out your snippet library. And I mean, literally, this is, it's like, I say it's this simple. I mean, it takes a little bit of work, but again, a lot of folks have VAs or in-house assistants, right? So to teach them how to do these things. And again, we're working off of the annual report. My software, if you're looking to just do them off with the monitoring, it merges this stuff in like literally instantly, I mean, so there's ways where you could do that. And then if you want to just do one of these for last round, kind of like before you want to send off to an attorney, like that's cool too. Like, okay, we've disputed 2 or 3 rounds with the monitorings and this stuff is still all jacked up, right? So one last notice. So a lot of ways where, we can, but I want to do it manual. So questions on this. Let's kind of open it up here. Questions, thoughts, feedback on this.
Let me ask you a question. I know some people, some of the stuff I've been watching saying, I know Brian Ponder says that he does, one dispute on one, pulls it up, put it in there on each individual one. Do you do it that way?
Typically, I'll do one letter, one trade line per letter, but I'll mail all the letters together. So it is usually those thicker flat rate envelopes to the postal service. The reason, so let me back up. I mean, what's important is what you put in the letters. Like that's really what's important, whether you put them all in one letter or multiples. The reason I typically will do multiple is just for cleanliness of.
Yeah, that's what Brian said. He said, when it comes to bringing a case, he just has, each letter for each individual one and doesn't have all the other crap for the other ones.
That's how I like to do it. So again, because I mean, I'm not an attorney and I'm trying to repair credit. And so if I want to send a follow-up letter up to the executive of whatever that collector is, it makes me look like, a little bit less of a douchebag. If I'm like, by the way, here's a copy of round 1 that we sent. And it's literally just his company's trade line, right? I don't have shotgun 30 freaking items on there, Technically speaking, nothing wrong with that. It's all about strategy. So, I mean, but if Brian does separate letters, that's cool. Like, I know there's attorneys that just do single, put everything in one letter, right? And like, they don't really care. They're like, dude, we're going to just put it on one letter because if they don't do what they're supposed to, we're just going to sue them all, and then we'll just let them all figure it out, right? And that's cool too. But from, I'd say, like the credit repair perspective of us trying to work a pre-lit file,
like it'd be a little bit easier to itemize in your head and see each individual.
Exactly, yeah. And then again, I mean, if you think of it from like, drafting the suit or the complaint, right? Like literally this here is, if this were your lawsuit, right, for this company right here, you literally could be like, the credit report that was reviewed on such and such date, and you could literally just copy and paste this, boom, boom. These are the issues that were wrong, Your Honor, and then honor about the following,
you're enumerated 1, 2, 3, 4,
exactly. 5. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to go over today. I wanted to share with you guys, sometimes we overcomplicate it and it's not complicated. Once you know how to read the reports, you do that, and that's how you can work off of templates intelligently, but not have them all with the same, and get your little clause library. Nice thing for the clauses is that NCLC law library that we have, because you can go in there and dude, I mean, you can get a gajillion snippets on the date of first delinquency, out of that law library, the NCLC. You can like literally just copy this stuff without the court cases, but just, hey, the date of first delinquency, is important because blah, 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 whatever the law book says, you know what I mean? And so you guys have tens of thousands of pages of law books. And so you've got access to good, high quality content to kind of embed in there. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do. Hopefully you guys found that helpful here. Any kind of final questions on how to read a report and put a one bureau trade line letter together before we wrap this one up here? Going once, going twice, three times a lady. All right. That being said, well, I appreciate all of you guys for joining in here. We bring this to you guys to help you improve your business. I will see all of you same time, same place next week. You all be good. Take care.
All right.
Let's go.